Hey, what's up, folks? I wanted to talk a little bit about this truckers convoy coming out of California. I guess there's several of them coming out of different places. Like Bob Bullis has one coming out of Scranton that seems to have, I guess, fizzled out or something. I don't know, but I mean, he took like his company drivers and went down to D.C. and got flat tires and gave up or something. I'm not really sure, but um, I don't think I'm going to participate with this. And the reason being is like, yeah, it's a couple of things. I need to take care of my stepdad. He's having surgery on the 10th of March, so I got to go down to Georgia and, take him to the hospital and all that. There's nobody else that can do it, so I need to take care of that. But aside from that, and I just don't think they're protesting the right things. I mean, yeah, COVID mandates affect truckers, just like they do everybody else, but that's an everybody protest. I mean, I think truckers, if they're going to protest, they need to protest things that matter to truckers, which is, all the crap that we have to deal with every day. The DOT pulling you over for no reason, without any legal justification other than because they want to. The lack of parking, the issues at shippers and receivers. You know, when you go to a shipper or receiver, there should be a mandated time limit, and if they exceed that time limit, then there needs to be some compensation made that's guaranteed, not just because the broker decided they're going to pay something, because I can't tell you how many times I've gone to some place. I mean, matter of fact, the last load I did, I took it to a Walmart distribution center, and I was there for like 6 hours, and then they didn't even give me my bills. I had to go chasing freaking emails and phone calls and whatnot just to get the bills and all that, because I wasn't sure if I was going to get paid on the load. It was kind of weird. I mean, but it was, they told me that they weren't going to give me the bills. Otherwise, if I had waited on the bills, it was going to be another 6 or 7 hours for me to get out of there. I'm like, just freaking sign the damn bills and let me go. What's wrong with signing it subject to count? But either way, that was a pain in the ass. But I was already there for 5 hours. Another 6 or 7 would have, 12 hours. I don't want to be there 12 hours. Especially at that Walmart. There's no internet there. It's boring as shit. There's nothing going on. I mean, there's no food, nothing. I hate that place. But, and that's pretty common. I mean, they sit there and they waste your time. And time is money. Your time is money. And especially when you're an owner operator, you've got, money's, you got to make money. As a company driver, they probably have an automatic detention policy. Most companies and whatnot. After 2 hours, I think Walmart won't pay detention until after 3 hours. So that's a problem. But honestly, I think that should be something that's talked about. Creating some laws that protect us against those kind of abuses. Not only that, but parking. Why should we rely on the generosity of private properties to allow us to park? You think about it. Truck stops are private properties, and then you go into most truck stops these days, with the exception of Love's, they've all got paid parking and whatnot. Like, I don't want to pay to park. I mean, it's mandated by the government that I have to park somewhere. There should be parking available to us. There should be truck only rest areas. Judging by the volume of traffic, the annual volume of traffic, truck traffic and whatnot, that are set aside for us to be able to park. I mean, we pay a lot of money just to drive on the roads, and where's that money going? It's not going back into anything for us. It's just being taken from us, and and it's basically a luxury tax, or excise tax or whatever. We're because they can. Toll roads are the same thing. I mean, we should have government provided parking if we're going to pay the government to drive on these roads like we do. But that doesn't, that's not in any kind of, nobody's arguing about that, even though that's one of the biggest issues that we have out here is parking. If a truck convoy is going to go to DC and they're going to try to force change, it needs to be change that makes sense to truck drivers. COVID, and while I don't support any COVID measures, I never wore a mask. I didn't get vaccinated, and I don't plan to. I still, anybody ever ask me to wear a mask, I just walk the fuck out and be like, no, I'm not wearing a mask. The only time, well, I'll take that back. I wore a mask like 2 or 3 times, and the only reason was because the damn receiver wasn't a shipper. I'll drop a load real goddamn quick. I don't care. I can get another one. But but I got two receivers and whatnot, and they're like, "Well, we're not going to unload you unless you wear a mask." So I just suck it up and deal with it for a few minutes and get that done. But those types of things are annoying. But I don't think that's the big issue facing truck drivers, and and if we're going to do a truck convoy or a shutdown or anything like that, I think these things I think it needs to be focused on what plagues truck drivers in America these days. And it's not, COVID's not the big deal anymore. I mean, nobody's really, like, I haven't even been asked to wear a mask probably a year. So I'm not really that concerned about it. What I am concerned about is, the things that bother us on a regular basis. The hours of service is stupid. The 70-hour rule needs to go. Period. Needs to go. There is no fucking reason why you should be forced to stop 200 miles away from home because you ran out of hours on your 70, even though you would normally have that. Would normally have 11 hours to run. On your 10-hour break. Otherwise. The 70-hour rule makes no sense whatsoever. That just, as long as you're observing the 10, 14, and and whatever, those rules and whatnot, then what the hell difference does it make as far as how many hours you work in a week? I mean, I think we're probably the only industry where the government's come in and said you can only work a certain amount of hours a week. There are plenty of jobs out there where people are working 80, 90 hours a week. Cops do it. There's cops out there working 16, 18-hour shifts. They're out there tired as shit, and they got guns, and and they hold people's lives in their hands. And yet they're working, massive amounts of overtime. And look at some cops' salaries and whatnot. You'll see their base rate's probably 50, 60,000, but they ended up grossing nearly $200,000 in a year because of all the overtime they do. It's retarded, but. And then we got all these safety blitzes and all that. I mean, the police, the DOT should just not be able to pull you over anytime they feel like. If they see something wrong with your vehicle, they should be able to stop you. If they don't see anything wrong with your vehicle, you're not overweight, anything like that, they shouldn't be able to stop you. They should not be able to touch you. But yet they're violating your Fourth Amendment right because somebody said that it's a regulatory search instead of a a criminal search. Even though if they find something criminal, they'll end up arresting you. Not only that, but they'll write you the tickets. Those tickets, you have no court date. You can't, a lot of times what they do is that they'll write warnings, DOT violations. They'll write warnings and say, that it's just a warning, but it still goes on your CSA the same as if you got the ticket. And there's no way to fight it. Data queue is not it's not a recourse. That's not a legal recourse. There's nothing prescribed in the Constitution about that. It violates your Sixth Amendment rights. But there's nothing that we can do about it. And yet these people are going to DC, and they're going to whine about COVID restrictions that by and large don't really affect us. And they're ignoring all the other things that really do affect us. And I just don't get it. I don't get why they're so focused on COVID and not focused on the things that are more important than COVID. If there's a COVID restriction, just ignore it. I don't care. I ignore these things. I don't give a shit. You tell me, tell me what you want to tell me, but I'm not gonna do what you tell me. I don't want to wear a fucking face diaper. I'm not gonna wear a face diaper. Period. End of story. And if you don't fucking like it, I don't care. I'll leave, or whatever. I'll make the decision whether it's advantageous to me or not to wear the thing, and. If I have to, if I feel like it's the best decision, I will. 99% of the time, I don't. And I've had COVID twice. I got it early on, in early 2020, and I just got over it here I got it around Christmas. So it's not a big deal. But that's a choice that you have to make yourself. I mean, and I support that. I support the rhetoric that everybody's saying that as far as COVID precautions and vaccines, and they're not vaccines. I wish they'd stop calling them vaccines. They're like a flu shot. It's not a vaccine if you can still freaking get it. That's not a vaccine. The polio vaccine prevents you from getting it. Measles, mumps, rubella, prevents you from getting that. The COVID vaccine is not an actual vaccine. It's an inoculation, and that's different. But we have all this rhetoric about COVID and nothing about what's really, really important to us. I mean, about how we're treated like second-class citizens in America. And then I go watch these videos about this convoy. Man, the hate and vitriol against us. It's like, it's mostly coming from the left. I don't know. I mean, because it's turned into a left-right thing and whatnot. But there's Democrat truck drivers, there's Republican truck drivers, there's independents, there's libertarians, there's all the whole political spectrum of truck drivers out there, and we all face the same fucking problem. We all get treated the same way, and it's a negative way. It just by and large in society. Everybody's rah in the truck drivers now, but they don't care about what's truly important to us, and to be able to live our lives and do our jobs and not be bothered. And unfortunately, I don't think anybody's ever going to, my voice isn't big enough. Nobody's going to see this video. 30 people maybe. It's not going to, it's not going to make a difference. But I just wanted to get it out there and say, like, this is what's important to me. And I think we need to have a trucker's bill of rights, to make sure that what's important to us is what, is what's focused on in these protests. But, my voice isn't going to change anything. It's, I feel kind of nihilistic at this point, but it's, at the same time, I do support what they're doing. I just don't support it in the way they're doing it. I wish that they would, would focus a little bit more on what, affects us. If it's still going on when I can go up there, I may join it. If it, especially if people start broadening the scope and whatnot, because I mean, it's not that it can't evolve, but I don't see it happening. But if it does happen, I will join. I would absolutely. I'll shut down, or I'll join a convoy or whatever if it comes to it. But I just need to. I need it to be the right thing. If I'm going to go to DC and get my and get treated like the people on January 6th and whatnot, it needs to make sense. It needs to be for the right thing. And for me, COVID's not the right thing. The theft of our rights, the tyranny that we live under as truck drivers in particular, is what's important to me. And COVID, nobody's ever tried to force me to take a shot, at least not yet. And if they do, then I'll protest. But nobody's tried to force me to take a shot. It's and I know that Biden has tried with the mandates and all that. And I guess company drivers will be really susceptible to it. But even still, if I was a company driver and somebody was trying to force me, to take the shot, to keep my job, I'd quit. I'd flat fucking quit. That's not going to happen. I don't trust the shot. I just don't. I don't. Too many people have fainted, fallen. Have had heart issues and whatnot. I mean, there's a lot of side effects, and I don't think we're going to know about it for years. And then you can't sue nobody. I guess maybe you could sue the government in the end for mandating these things, but you can't sue the drug companies that are making these things. I heard that some of the vaccines were made from AIDS. Like some people now have to go get AIDS tests and whatnot because they took the freaking vaccine. That kind of stuff worries me. And not maybe I'm not right about that. Maybe that's not true. I'm not 100% sure, but there's a lot of misinformation and everything. And one of the biggest problems is that any dissenting opinions are being blocked on social media. So if you don't agree with the government narrative, the well-paid narrative and whatnot, then you're not going to get your voice heard. You'll be blocked on Twitter and Facebook, and shut down on YouTube. They'll Joe Rogan your ass. I mean, that's what's happening. So I just stay away from it. But aside from that, like I said, the whole trucking thing, I mean, it's important that we establish that we are people and that we have some sort of power in this country, not just, we're not just worthless bums. I mean, my God, the comments on some of these videos I've seen, about how stupid we are, and how we're just a bunch of fucking Karens and shit like that, whiny Karens and shit. Like, man, why don't you get out and do this fucking job? Tell me how you feel. And it's like, well, we can get rid of trucks because we've got trains. I'm like, yeah, okay, how the fuck does shit get on the trains? How does it get off trains, stupid? There's no train tracks at Walmart. You know, there's no train tracks at the mall. There's no train tracks going to every store that you want to go to. And if there were, you know, the roads would be all fucked up with railroad crossings everywhere. It'd be ridiculous. But either way, you know, it's just we need to focus on what's important and maybe not focus so much on political issues and whatnot. I mean, I support the political issues as far as, you know, I'm a right winger. I'm not gonna mince words and, you know, make a secret out of it or anything like that. I'm definitely a right winger. I'm not a fucking Republican as much as I'm just more of a libertarian, possibly, so, you know, sort of anarchist. I mean, I'm not really an anarchist because I do believe some government should exist. I just think the less government involvement in your life, the better. As long as I'm not doing anything to hurt anybody else, then leave me the fuck alone. That's bottom line for me. If I'm not hurting anybody, if I'm living my life and it's not affecting you or anybody else, then leave me the hell alone. Because in the end, when I'm driving my truck, the last thing I want to do is hurt myself. So if I don't want to hurt myself, I'm damn sure not going to hurt anybody else, because mostly that would involve hurting myself. So that's where it boils down to. And everybody has to be an individual, and everybody is allowed in this country, except for truck drivers, to be an individual, make their own choices. You know, I understand we have dangerous machines and whatnot, but so does somebody in a Jeep Cherokee or a Ford Expedition or whatever. Those are dangerous vehicles, believe it or not. And somebody in an RV, a big ass Prevost bus or whatever, they're riding down the road. They don't get pulled into race stations. When the hell was the last time you saw somebody in a big ass RV getting DOT'd on the side of the road? It doesn't happen. The only time they're on the side of the road is when they're broke down. So, the size of the vehicle, the arguments that they always use about safety are bullshit, because they don't hold water when you compare it to other vehicles of comparable size or comparable ability to cause damage or death. So it's just nonsense, and needs to be, a stop needs to be put to a lot of the things that we have to deal with out here. We definitely need to worry about parking. We definitely need to be worried about the DOT, coming down on us on a fishing expedition, trying to ruin our lives and whatnot, and hurt our CSA scores and whatnot. Those are important. I probably wouldn't care so much about inspections as much as I have ever since CSA became a thing, because now there's a record, and it's like, you can get fired from your job or have your contracts canceled if your CSA score gets bad. And a lot of it is all subjective. One cop will look at one thing, and the next cop will come along and look at the same thing and find a violation. It's all subjective. It's all opinion based. Some DOT officers will write shit up that they think is in the FMCSA book, and it's not. I've heard all kinds of stupid stories about how you have to have printers in the trucks, or your bed needs to be made up. Or, I had one cop tell me, well, I can get up and measure your bunk. I'm like, well, fuck you, man. You're not measuring anything. You're not going in my cab. You're not going in my cab, man. Fuck, that was a long time ago, but, it's like, no, I should have Fourth Amendment protections. He can't just go up in my, you can't just write a law that circumvents the Fourth Amendment. He has the right to measure your bunk. Why would you need to measure my bunk? It came from the factory the way it was, manufactured. If it wasn't manufactured up to code, then that's on them, not me. But it's just nonsense. And we need to put a stop to that. We need to stop worrying so much about COVID, which is a global issue, which is an American people issue, not just a truck driver issue. We need to worry about truck driver issues. I've gone on for a long time. I'm probably fucking boring as shit, but, that's just my 2 cents on the whole thing. And if, tell me what you think in the comments and whatnot. Like, subscribe, and, get it out there. Share this video or whatever, or tell me I'm stupid. It's fine. Let's just get together on these things. Have a nice day.